Welcome, everyone. Whether you're new to this channel or a returning viewer, thank you for joining us on yet another journey into the darkness of the unsolved mysteries that continue to haunt our world. Today, we begin a case that has left an entire community reeling, wondering what happened to a young woman with so much promise, a case that remains unresolved more than 15 years later. On the night of March 19th, 2004, Brianna Maitland, a 17-year-old high school student from Montgomery, Vermont, vanished without a trace. It was the last night anyone would see her alive. But was she really ever gone? This is the story of Brianna's disappearance, and the haunting mystery that still surrounds it. Brianna Maitland was known for her bright smile, her hard work, and her warmth. A shy girl, but with an undeniable spark that drew people to her. At 17, she had already been working at the Black Lantern Inn for some time, juggling school and a job in a small town where everyone knew each other. That night, March 19th, 2004, started off just like any other for Brianna. She worked her shift at the inn, finishing around 11:30 p.m., before calling her mother, Kelly Maitland, to tell her she was headed home. But she never made it. Her car, a 1996 Oldsmobile, was found hours later, backed into an abandoned bar near Route 118. The headlights were still on. The car wasn't locked, but Brianna was nowhere to be found. Personal items, including her cell phone and purse, were left inside. It was as if Brianna had vanished into thin air. But the circumstances surrounding her disappearance would soon grow more perplexing. At first, investigators believed that Brianna might have run away. After all, the small-town life she led had its share of struggles. She had a history of arguing with her parents, as any teenager might, and had a few instances of rebelliousness. But Brianna was no runaway. Her family and friends were adamant about that from the start. Brianna wasn't the type to just leave without a word. Her mother, Kelly, stated that there was no indication Brianna intended to go anywhere, and no sign that she had prepared for such a departure. Additionally, Brianna's belongings, left behind in her car, didn't add up. If she had run away, why would she leave her purse and cell phone? And why would she park the car in such an odd manner, backed into barn, not in a way that one would if they were trying to make a hasty getaway? Authorities began looking into Brianna's past, and they uncovered a number of strange, but potentially telling pieces of the puzzle. As investigators dug deeper, they found unsettling details about Brianna's life. There were rumors of a relationship with a man named Joseph Sanfratello, an individual from a neighboring town. Sanfratello was a known drug dealer, and some speculated that he might have had something to do with Brianna's disappearance. However, there was no concrete evidence to link him to the case. Brianna had also been in contact with a friend just before her disappearance, but the friend hadn't heard from her since. As investigators continued to chase down leads, one piece of evidence stood out: the fingerprints. Brianna's car was found to have fingerprints that didn't belong to her, or anyone in her immediate circle. These prints were speculated to belong to someone who might have had contact with Brianna that night, someone she either knew or didn't know, but had enough of a presence to leave their mark behind. As the weeks turned to months, the case began to grow colder. By late 2004, investigators shifted their attention to the possibility of foul play. Brianna's disappearance was now suspected to be an abduction, but there was still no evidence to suggest who the perpetrator might be. Eyewitnesses reported seeing a dark vehicle near the site of Brianna's abandoned car, but the description was vague, and the driver remained unidentified. The town of Montgomery, once quiet and peaceful, was now overwhelmed with whispers and rumors. What was supposed to be a small-town disappearance had turned into something much more sinister. Was Brianna the victim of a random abduction, or had she been targeted by someone she knew? The theories surrounding her case became murkier as time went on. Some speculated that Brianna had been involved with a man who may have been dangerous, while others believed she might have fallen prey to a more organized criminal element in the area. The police pursued leads, but none were strong enough to make an arrest or point to a definitive suspect. The case was growing cold. Though more than 15 years have passed since Brianna's disappearance, the case is far from forgotten. Her mother, Kelly, continued to fight for justice, keeping Brianna's name alive in the media and through cold case investigations. In 2021, the case was revisited and new forensic methods were applied to re-examine old evidence. But still, no breakthroughs have come forward. Brianna's face is still seen in missing person reports, and her story is still shared across true crime forums. The disappearance of Brianna Maitland is one of those cases that refuses to be forgotten, even though the answers remain elusive. As we look back on what we know, we are left with more questions than answers. Who was involved? Why was she taken? And most haunting of all, where is Brianna Maitland? If you found yourself drawn into this mystery, be sure to like this video and subscribe for more on unsolved true crime cases. Share your thoughts in the comments. We'd love to hear what you think happened to Brianna. Could it be someone she knew, or was her abduction a random act of violence? Stay tuned as the story unfolds. When Brianna Maitland's car was found abandoned on the side of Route 118, the investigation into her disappearance began. It was supposed to be a simple case, a young girl missing after leaving work. But the more the authorities dug, the more puzzling and haunting the details became. For Brianna's family, this was the start of an agonizing journey into the unknown. For the small town of Montgomery, Vermont, it was the beginning of a mystery that would linger in the shadows for years to come. In the days following Brianna's disappearance, the investigation seemed to follow a path of hope, that she had simply walked away from her car, perhaps for reasons unknown. Missing persons cases are often resolved with the return of the individual, and many believe Brianna would eventually walk back into her home. However, as the days turned into weeks, the reality of the situation began to sink in for her family. Brianna's mother, Kelly Maitland, was devastated but persistent. "I know my daughter," Kelly said in an interview with local news outlets. "She wouldn't leave without telling me. She's not the type to just vanish." Her father, however, struggled to hold out hope as the more the investigation unfolded, the more chilling the facts became. Brianna hadn't taken any of her personal items except her cell phone, which was now turned off, and her vehicle was parked in an unusual manner, with no explanation. A theory began to form. Brianna had been abducted. As the investigation progressed, new forensic evidence emerged that would change the direction of the case. Investigators uncovered a key piece of evidence: fingerprints. These prints, found on the rearview mirror of Brianna's car, didn't belong to her or anyone close to her. They were foreign, and they didn't belong to anyone who had been near the car earlier in the investigation. The discovery of these fingerprints was both a breakthrough and a dead end. Who had left them? Were they the prints of an assailant who had been with Brianna that night? Or was it possible that Brianna had encountered someone she knew who had left behind a subtle, telling trace? The prints, under closer inspection, revealed a unique, almost symbolic presence. They were clear, though faint, indicating that whoever had left them had touched the car intentionally, possibly at a crucial moment in Brianna's abduction. This finding led to the theory that Brianna's disappearance was not a random act, but the result of something more calculated and deliberate. As weeks turned into months, the case began to stagnate. Theories about the fingerprints circulated but led nowhere, and the suspects continued to elude the authorities. Brianna's mother, Kelly, devastated by the lack of answers, spent countless hours searching for her daughter, handing out flyers, and organizing community events to keep the public aware of the case. Yet as time passed, the media spotlight faded. Brianna became another name in a long list of missing persons, her story lost in the shuffle of new tragedies. Investigators continued to follow new leads, but each one ended in frustration. The town of Montgomery, once close-knit and trusting, began to fracture under the weight of suspicion. Who could be responsible for such an act, and why had they not left a trace? But the truth was elusive, and no one knew where Brianna was, or what had happened to her that fateful night. At the close of the year, Kelly Maitland's search for Brianna turned from one of hope to one of determination. She reached out to national media. She contacted private investigators. And she never gave up. "Someone knows something," she said in one of her public statements. "And I won't stop until I find out what happened to my daughter." The case of Brianna Maitland remained open. But as it grew colder, it began to feel more and more like a forgotten tragedy. The fingerprints, the odd circumstances of the abandoned car, and the scattered details about Brianna's life remained as fragments of mystery, one that refused to be solved. Did you know about the hidden pieces of evidence in Brianna Maitland's case? Let us know your thoughts below, and if you haven't already, be sure to like, share, and subscribe for more unsolved mysteries. Stay tuned as we dive deeper into the darkening theories surrounding Brianna's disappearance and the chilling possibility that someone close to her might be responsible. As the months passed, the investigation into Brianna Maitland's disappearance seemed to slow to a crawl. The initial excitement and hopefulness had dissipated, replaced by the grim reality of an unsolved case. Brianna's face remained on missing persons flyers, but as time wore on, the case became just another cold file in a pile of unsolved mysteries. Yet, beneath the surface of this frustrating stagnation, something more sinister was brewing. The investigation was far from over. In fact, it was about to take a darker turn. The initial focus of the investigation was on the possibility that Brianna had run away, or perhaps that she had been abducted by a random stranger. But as the investigation dug deeper into Brianna's life, new, more disturbing theories began to emerge. It became clear that Brianna may have known her abductor, and that someone close to her might have been involved in her disappearance. One of the first clues pointing to this theory was Brianna's connection to a man named Joseph Sanfratello. Sanfratello, a man with a criminal background and suspected ties to drugs and other illicit activities, was known to have had brief interactions with Brianna in the months leading up to her disappearance. According to witnesses, they had seen the two together, though the nature of their relationship was unclear. At first, Sanfratello was merely a person of interest in the investigation, but the more authorities learned about him, the more troubling his involvement seemed. In a small town like Montgomery, everyone knew each other, and Brianna's ties to Sanfratello stood out. Investigators were particularly concerned about the possibility that Brianna had been caught up in a dangerous, drug-related situation. Sanfratello was questioned by law enforcement several times, but each time he denied any involvement in Brianna's disappearance. There were no physical traces linking him to her car, and the investigation found no hard evidence that he had been with her the night she vanished. He denied knowing anything about her whereabouts, but his suspicious background cast a shadow of doubt over his alibi. Could he have been involved in something darker? Or was he just another suspect in a case with too many unanswered questions? As investigators delved further into Sanfratello's life, a chilling picture began to form. It was revealed that he had connections to a small but dangerous drug network operating in the region. He had been involved in selling drugs to local teens, and Brianna was rumored to have been familiar with some people in his circle. Could Brianna have crossed paths with the wrong person, leading to her disappearance? Investigators began to theorize that Brianna's disappearance was tied to a drug deal gone wrong. It wasn't clear whether she had been caught in the middle of a deal or had gotten involved with someone who had ulterior motives, but the idea that her abduction was related to this underworld of drugs gained traction. This theory was further supported by the discovery of drug-related paraphernalia in the area near where Brianna's car had been found. While no direct evidence linked Brianna to the drugs, it was enough to suggest that the criminal element in the town was not entirely unrelated to her disappearance. Was Brianna an innocent bystander, or had she become entangled in something far more dangerous than she had anticipated? Yet even as the criminal theory gained ground, there were still far too many questions. Why hadn't Brianna contacted anyone in the days following her disappearance? If she had been involved in a drug-related incident, why was there no ransom demand or any contact from her captors? And why did mysterious fingerprints found on her car remain unidentified? Weeks turned into months, and the case appeared to stall. But then, in the spring of 2005, a new lead came to light, one that would cast further doubt on the previous theories. A witness came forward claiming to have seen a young woman matching Brianna's description in a nearby town just days after her disappearance. According to the witness, a woman had been spotted near a local gas station in Newport, Vermont, looking disheveled and confused. The witness didn't approach the woman, but they claimed the girl appeared to be trying to get away from someone, possibly an older man. The description given by the witness seemed to fit Brianna, but the authorities couldn't confirm whether it was really her. This lead, though intriguing, raised even more questions. Had Brianna been taken to a different location after her disappearance? Was she trying to escape from an abductor? Or had she, in fact, run away, just as some had originally speculated? But the sighting alone wasn't enough to spark any substantial breakthroughs in the case. Investigators combed through nearby surveillance footage, re-interviewed the witness, and canvassed local areas for more information. but nothing concrete emerged. As months turned into years, the investigation took yet another chilling turn. The more authorities examined Brianna's social circles and personal connections, the more it seemed possible that someone close to her had played a role in her disappearance. The initial theory of a random abduction began to feel less likely. The idea that Brianna had been taken by someone she knew, someone who had been in her life, began to feel more plausible. One name that kept coming up in the investigation was Michael, a former friend of Brianna's who had a turbulent past. He had been known to have had an on-again, off-again relationship with Brianna, and investigators were concerned about his possible involvement. However, despite multiple attempts to connect him to the case, investigators were unable to find any direct evidence linking Michael to Brianna's disappearance. It seemed that, no matter how hard they tried, the authorities couldn't find the right person. Each new lead fell apart just as quickly as it had appeared. Brianna's case was becoming increasingly cold. Though many theories had been proposed and investigated, the truth about Brianna's disappearance remained elusive. As her mother, Kelly, continued her tireless search for answers, Brianna's story became a haunting reminder of the darkness lurking beneath the surface of small-town life. Was Brianna the victim of a random, brutal act, or was she a casualty of the dangerous world of drugs and criminal networks? Brianna's case stands as one of the many unsolved mysteries that continue to captivate true crime enthusiasts. Her story is a tragic reminder of the fragility of life and the deep, unsettling truth that sometimes no one ever really knows what happens behind closed doors until it's too late. Have you considered the possibility that Brianna's abduction was not random, but part of a larger, darker pattern? Could someone in her circle have been responsible? Drop your thoughts below, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more updates on this chilling case. Brianna Maitland's case has haunted both her family and the public for over 15 years, leaving a trail of unanswered questions and heart-wrenching uncertainty. Her story, a chilling combination of mystery and tragedy, refuses to fade into obscurity. Despite countless hours of investigation, new forensic techniques, and the relentless pursuit of truth, the answers have remained just out of reach. Brianna is still missing, and her case continues to perplex the minds of those searching for the truth. The most enduring aspect of Brianna Maitland's disappearance is the emotional toll it has taken on her family, especially her mother, Kelly Maitland. From the very first day Brianna was reported missing, Kelly has dedicated her life to finding her daughter. She has participated in countless interviews, created awareness campaigns, and filed requests for reopened investigations. Her tireless efforts have been driven by a mother's unyielding love and a deep, unrelenting need to know what happened to her daughter. Kelly has become a voice for missing persons and has continued to press law enforcement for answers, refusing to give up despite the passage of years. "I won't stop until I know what happened to my daughter," she stated in an interview with the Montpelier Times-Argus. Someone knows something. Someone out there has the key to this mystery. They just need to come forward. The emotional toll of not knowing, not being able to lay her daughter to rest, or even begin grieving fully, is a burden that Kelly still carries. She has remained adamant that Brianna would not have simply disappeared without a trace. And despite the case growing colder, Kelly has kept Brianna's face in the public eye, hoping that one day, someone will come forward with the missing piece of the puzzle. As the case stretched on, a new generation of investigators began to take a fresh look at Brianna's case. With advancements in forensic technology, including new techniques in DNA testing and fingerprint analysis, there was a renewed hope that the case could be solved. In 2021, the Vermont State Police announced that they would be re-examining the case, applying modern investigative methods to see if they could uncover new leads. One of the most promising developments came when investigators revisited the mysterious fingerprints found on Brianna's car. These prints, which had long been a point of focus in the case, were reanalyzed using more advanced forensic techniques. While they had not yet yielded a match, the possibility remained that they belonged to someone closely involved in Brianna's life, perhaps even someone she knew. In addition to the re-examination of physical evidence, investigators also reopened old witness statements. New leads and new tips were followed, but the case remained as enigmatic as ever. As the years went by, and with no definitive answers in sight, it became clear that the question surrounding Brianna's disappearance would remain a haunting one. Could the new techniques finally crack the case wide open, Or would it remain a shadowy, unsolved mystery? For the residents of Montgomery, Vermont, Brianna's disappearance has left a permanent scar. The small town, once quiet and tight-knit, has been rocked by suspicion and distrust. Was someone in their own community involved in her abduction? Or was Brianna a victim of forces from outside the town? People who had no connection to the quiet life she once led? This ongoing uncertainty has left its mark on the town. While some still hope for a breakthrough, others have grown disillusioned with the investigation. The fact that no one has ever been charged in connection with Brianna's disappearance has left people wondering, why hasn't someone been held accountable? If she was taken by someone local, could they be hiding in plain sight, blending back into the community without consequence? The idea of a person walking freely, knowing the truth about what happened to Brianna but never facing justice, has gnawed at the town for years. This lack of closure is something that continues to eat away at both the residents and Brianna's family. It's a constant reminder of how fragile security can be, how easily someone can vanish without a trace, even in a small town where everyone thinks they know everyone else. After all this time, it's difficult not to feel a sense of frustration and despair over the unanswered questions. What really happened to Brianna Maitland on the night of March 19th, 2004? Was she the victim of a random criminal act? Or did she know the person who took her? Could someone in her life have been involved? Someone close enough to her to gain her trust? The fingerprints found on Brianna's car seem to suggest that whoever was responsible for her disappearance had some direct connection to her. Could it have been someone from her past, someone she trusted, or someone who had come into her life just before that fateful night? Or was it the dark, criminal world that Brianna may have unknowingly walked into that night? The theories continue to swirl, but none have been proven. In many missing person cases, the most obvious suspects are often family members or people closest to the victim. However, in Brianna's case, the lack of concrete evidence has prevented the authorities from identifying any specific individual as a suspect. Even the possibility that someone from Brianna's social circle might have been involved has never been definitively proven, leaving everyone to speculate. What we do know is that Brianna Maitland's disappearance remains one of the most baffling and tragic unsolved cases in Vermont. Her car was found abandoned with no sign of her. There were fingerprints, a vague eyewitness report, and a number of potential leads, but no one has ever been held accountable. And yet, in all of this, there's a haunting certainty. Brianna was taken. She didn't just vanish without a trace. The true story of what happened to Brianna on that cold March night may be locked away, hidden by the darkness of human motives and the complexity of criminal behavior. The evidence that exists, fingerprints, eyewitness reports, and possible connections to the drug world, points to a scenario that is as chilling as it is uncertain. And while investigators continue their work, the question remains, will we ever know the truth? As the years go by, Brianna Maitland's case continues to fuel frustration, hope, and despair. For Kelly Maitland, the search for her daughter never stops. She continues to advocate for Brianna, hoping that one day someone will come forward with the final clue that will lead to justice. Her fight has not just been about finding her daughter. It's been about uncovering the truth, no matter how dark or difficult that truth might be. The disappearance of Brianna Maitland is a reminder of the powerlessness that families feel when they lose a loved one without closure. The uncertainty, the unanswered questions, the gnawing sense of injustice. All of it combines into a heavy burden that no one should have to bear. But for those who are left behind, the search for answers is an unrelenting pursuit. As we close the chapter on Brianna's story, we are left with the same questions that have haunted her family for over 15 years. Will we ever find out what truly happened to Brianna? Will her case ever be solved? Or will her disappearance remain a mystery, forever locked in the shadows of the unknown? If you have any information about Brianna's disappearance, or if you know something that could lead to answers, please reach out to the authorities. The search for Brianna Maitland may be long, but is far from over. Thank you for following Brianna's story with us. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to stay updated on more true crime cases. Your thoughts are always welcome in the comments below. What do you think happened to Brianna? Could she have been taken by someone she knew? Or is there another explanation for her disappearance? Stay tuned for more stories that demand answers.